Thanks, Don. Lawmakers have 1 week to come to an agreement, or the massive mandatory budget cuts known as the sequester take effect.
Looking for compromise on that budget has been an elusive goal for Congress so far. 10 on your side's Art Kahn joins us now with more on the search for a way out. So, Art, a lot of ideas out there, but very little consensus, huh?
Yeah, I would say so, Nicole, and consequently, very little progress solving the Department of Defense budget battle. Now, patience is growing thin amongst the American people, especially here in Hampton Roads, where residents, in this region will take a big hit if sequestration is allowed to go forward.
This was all designed to say, we can't do these bad cuts, let's do something smarter. That was the whole point of this so-called sequestration.
They're accepting, in Washington, have accepted that there's going to be this pretty acute level of pain and that this is what's going to drive us to come to an agreement.
And it takes me off to hear them playing chicken with the Department of Defense. That's what I call it, and it does make me angry.
We just want a number. We want to know what the future is.
A report from the Brookings Institution, a think tank in Washington, is offering what it calls a moderate plan for additional defense budget cuts. The report was written by Michael O'Hanlon, a senior fellow with the 21st Century Defense Initiative and director of research for the Foreign Policy Program at Brookings.
It's the sort of thing we have to think about when we have $1 trillion a year deficit and when the debt itself has become a national security threat.
Even O'Hanlon admits the cuts he calls for in the report stretch the limits of his own comfort zone.
And propose some ideas that I know not everybody's going to love, and which would entail some limited additional risk to national security.
In the 39-page report, O'Hanlon proposes cutting active duty Army forces to 450,000 soldiers and reducing the Marine Corps to 160,000 Marines, reducing the planned purchase of the F-35 fighter jets by half, and asking the Navy to swap crew members on ships deployed instead of rotating vessels.
You swap the crews by airplane, so you leave the ship overseas, maybe for a couple of years.
The chairman of the House Subcommittee on Sea Power, 4th District Congressman Randy Forbes, says crew swap is a concept shown not to be a silver bullet for savings. Congressman Forbes says it is an alternative method to expand the effectiveness of the particular ship, but increases the overall cost and limits maintenance availabilities. O'Hanlon's plan for crew swapping would only apply to cruisers and destroyers, not aircraft carriers. And he admits this would be a complicated process and would take time, but would increase efficiency by 30 to 35%, he says, by the Navy's own estimates. The total cuts to the defense budget under O'Hanlon's plan would be about $200 billion. By the way, that interview you saw with Scott Ridgell, I shot that in his Virginia Beach office just a couple of days ago, coincidentally, with all this stuff going on. Also want to let you know that if you would like to see the entire 39-page report of O'Hanlon's, we have a link to it on wavy.com. Art Kahn, 10 on your side.
And stay tuned for continuing coverage of the budget battle on air and on wavy.com. As Art just mentioned, just click federal budget on the homepage and you'll find all the latest headlines and top stories. There's a live Twitter feed, and you can check out a map that shows which states will be most affected by the sequester. Virginia and California top that list.